Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio where you can always hear the songs of the frogs. I am, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Robert Meyer Burnett.
Yeah, but I didn't have crying over them on my 2025 bingo card. Yeah. Here we are.
Who would have thought I'd be crying over frog songs? Jonathan Voico's here.
Good morning, everybody.
Chris Carr is here. And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a bunch of predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, well, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you guys have a thought, theory, opinion, or topic you'd like us to address, go ahead and fire it on into our tip link while we're live at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. Now, here's the good news about the tip link. It's actually good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you happen to be listening to our show on podcast, either on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or maybe you're watching the show a little bit later in the day, you can still send in a question to the tip link. And if you send one in when we're not live, we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys. With that down, let's get things started with this, shall we? As most of you guys know, a new trailer dropped over the weekend for Last of Us Season 2. Now, of course, I cannot believe how good the first season was. Like, it if anything broke the video game curse, it was Last of Us. And since then, we've had things like, well, Fallout and whatever. We got a number of God of War is now coming. But I loved that thing. And so me and a lot of people have been excited about it. But I didn't know this many people were excited about it. Because according to a new release that HBO Max just put out, The Last of Us Season 2 trailer has shattered the records, becoming the HBO and Max's most watched original trailer with 158 million views. To put that a little bit in perspective, that beats the Season 1 trailer they call by 160%. So more than doubled what the first season trailer got. Now, also, to put it, again, this is for HBO and Max things, but lest you think that's not still an impressive number, if we put in context of the highest viewed trailers for movies of all time, at 158 million, that means that the Season 2 trailer for Last of Us would come in at like number 12.
Wow.
Just behind the Lion King trailer at number 11, the Fate of the Furious trailer at number 12. Of course, the number one of all time is Deadpool and Wolverine with 365. But that just gives you a sense of just how many people watched the trailer for The Last of Us Season 2 that dropped this weekend. So, look, we know the show is incredibly good, but there have been other incredibly good shows that second season trailers don't get that kind of attention for. So, Chris, I wanted to ask you, like, as somebody who I know you like Last of Us, what is it about the show that has gotten this many people as excited as this for its second season that it's breaking all kinds of records for its trailer views?
The execution of it, it's brilliant. It's so well done. It's excellent, excellent television. You have wonderful acting. You have wonderful writing. It is beautifully shot. The special effects don't take you out of it. They only immerse you further into it. The way the clickers are designed is truly terrifying. And I say this as a person who, shocked to no one, I can't play The Last of Us when it's dark out. That's a daytime game for me and Logan. They did such a great job of adapting this game. It's already wonderful source material. It's already such a great game. It's the gold standard, honestly. And it's been things that gamers have pointed to whenever people have said, well, there's not really good storytelling in video games. Look over here. Because there
certainly
so
are
many
examples.
moments. Yeah, there's so many moments where we've just gone straight from the video game, straight from the cinematic we had in there and put it right on screen. And it's still beautifully, beautifully done. They change things where they need to, and then they keep things that really work in both the video game and for a television medium. I think it's just one of the best adapted shows out there. It's got one of the most fire casts out there. And it was something, too, that you had characters who you really rooted for that they changed, right? Our Nick Offerman character, episode 4, is one of the most remarkable episodes of television that's ever occurred.
Was that episode 3?
Or 3, thank you so much. Yeah. And then you have characters, you know, like Melanie Linsky's character, who we all universally hated and could rally behind. Gosh, I hope she gets just murdered in the end of this. You had high stakes and you really were rooting for or against people. And I feel like if you were just somebody who's only watched the show, it made you rabid for more. And if you're somebody who played the games, you very masochistically are invested in seeing how they adapt this next chapter.
Yeah, that's going to be huge. And it also had a direct impact on how I live my life, because we were looking at getting some more greenery in the house, and we came across this one thing. It's like, oh, you can grow these like mushrooms in your house. I'm like, fuck that. I've seen Last of Us. No fungus in my house. Thank you very much. Anyway, Rob, these numbers are staggering. I mean, even if it was a feature film, this would crack the top 15 of all time. What do you see it as being the main draw? Why are people so excited for the second season of this?
Well, I think, Chris hit the nail on the head. I think first of all, having the creator, having Neil Druckmann involved, and you have a creator like Craig Mazin, who's an incredibly intelligent guy coming off the heels of Chernobyl. I mean, Craig's been involved in things, but I don't think until he got to Chernobyl did he realize his true potential. He's a Princeton grad. And I think what they've done with Last of Us, unlike something like Walking Dead, they've figured out how to create a show that is both terrifying and also full of human empathy. And at the same time, you're watching, I mean, even though Melanie Linsky, you wanted her dead, you understood what it's like when you see Negan in Walking Dead, it's like, that guy's just over the top evil. But in The Last of Us, I had not since I think Romero's original Dawn of the Dead in 78, 79, did I see a post-apocalyptic scenario that I totally believed in.
Yeah.
Because you believe that the humanity of these characters and the multidimensionality of them dealing with this situation, it feels real. I mean, I feel like if the world did end in this particular way, and from the first time you hear that, is it in the Philippines when she says bomb?
No, it wasn't the Philippines. It was
Indonesia.
It might have been Indonesia.
I mean, casting that actress in that role, that virologist coming in,
that was one of the most powerful scenes of any show.
Oh my God!
Year.
And they completely sent it the wrong. Like they bring her into that room and she's her tea's shaking in her hand, and she's like, "Look, bomb the cities," and I'm like, "Oh, it wasn't like it's not like
remember
outbreak."
The shot of the teacup in her hand?
That's it was shaking,
and like just the God.
They've made so many. Look, I always talk about authorship. I feel that when I'm watching this show, the people that have made this show assume that I'm a very smart viewer.
Yes.
And they're going to give me material that is going to live up to my expectations and my intelligence. And so often with IPs, we're not getting that. Certainly not with Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Oh, wait, what?
Oh, I knew we would get one eventually.
I'm sorry. No, but I feel like...
Did you see what Jonathan Frakes just said about Star Trek Strange New Worlds?
He loves it.
He does.
He loves it. But no, I kid Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I kid them. Like I would a younger brother who's still in elementary school and doesn't know anything. But no, I mean, this show is so good on so many levels, and it's beautifully made. I mean, like you were touching on the visual effects, but the shooting in Alberta, don't they shoot a lot of?
Yeah, mostly in Alberta, Canada.
I mean, those you feel what's going. I feel
Canada should impose a tariff on it. I'm just saying.
Total verisimilitude. Total verisimilitude.
Sorry for that cackle. I apologize to everyone who had to hear that come out of me.
I mean, does that mean I wouldn't be surprised if our HBO subscription fee goes up just to get Last of Us. Or pardon me, Max.
I am curious though, because you remember the opening scene of the series with the talk show in the 60s, and they're talking about if this happens, we're effed. I mean, sort of. Do you think they start the second season maybe with something like that, or do they just dive headfirst 5 years later and just jump right in?
I think we maybe see something amiss at the flour mill or something of that nature. We have some of those stories start creeping in.
Yeah, like the beginning of the outbreak or
something.
But or they're going to contextualize something that later refers to maybe how the world exists now. Like some discussion of I don't know, post-apocalyptic something or other from something
like that.
But I think you're right. I think they're gonna, because that was a great structure to use.
It was really great. And to your point too, Rob, I think there's the potential of them already talking about too the maybe moral or ethical issues surrounding what causes this cataclysmic event too, because again, they treat the audience as intelligent as they should.
Yes.
I mean, again, this is a second screen kind of situation. Some of my friends who work in production or who are in the kind of executive level at other studios have talked about how in these meetings with other people, we got to make sure that we're dumbing down our content because people are scrolling or people are doing other things and they're not watching things. And I love that this show is no, keep your eyes glued right here.
Well,
Well, I don't even understand that, because it's like, why do you have to dumb it down because people aren't watching things? Like, then they can go back on things they missed.
Exactly.
Like, why do you have to
hate that
dumb something
instinct.
down because someone may not be looking at it at that moment? Mm-hmm. Sorry, you missed it.
I agree. I think it's a disservice to your consumer.
Yeah.
that's also, I mean, that is a moronic take, and
Yep.
it's an easy to digest take, and it's what stupid people say in meetings.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? Apparently, the anticipation level is quite high because The Last of Us Season 2 trailer just broke like all HBO Max records and would have been in the top 15, top 12 highest movie trailer views of all time. Why do you think people are so excited about the return of it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, when Warner Brothers got taken over and got freed from the clutches of AT&T, which practically ran that studio into the ground, one of the very first things that David Zaslav did was he appointed Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdy as the head of their movie division at Warner Brothers. Two incredibly respected people in the industry. But it hasn't gone great for them on that level. I mean, and so there had been reports coming out a while ago that maybe David Zaslav might have been looking at replacing them. Well, now a brand new report has come out from the good folks over at Puck, suggesting not only is David Zaslav maybe looking at moving them out, he might be moving Peter Safran, James Gunn's co-CEO of DC, out of DC and into the head position of Warner Brothers Pictures. Now, the playlist wrote the following. Expensive creative-driven projects like George Miller's Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, a movie I thought was great, but flopped. Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17, a movie I quite like, but is flopping. And Paul Anderson's upcoming expensive film, One Battle After Another, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, which will also probably be awesome and not do very well at the box office, are great for audiences as in-theater choices can be limited, but this is still a business at the end of the day, and not delivering profits to the box office is going to get studio executives in trouble with a boss like David Zaslav, who is also known for being a bean counter and likes to scrap completed films for tax write-offs, as he should, which is why they're still alive and not dead. But, so, there's two different issues at hand here. Moving off of Abdy and DeLuca, which, again, when he brought them on, the whole industry applauded it. The whole industry applauded it. Everybody in the movie industry said, these are two very good choices. But sometimes you can make the right choices and it not work out. Kathleen Kennedy, anybody? When George Lucas handpicked her, everybody said, great choice. I did too. Great choice, but doesn't always work out, does it? So now they're talking about taking Peter Safran, James Gunn's partner at DC, and moving him to the head of Warner Brothers Studios. Now, just to be clear, because I already saw some misunderstanding about this being chatted about, that would not make Peter Safran James Gunn's boss. DC is not under Warner Brothers Studios. DC is under Warner Brothers Discovery proper. It's a totally separate division. Abdy and Luca were not James Gunn and Peter Safran's bosses. They are two separate movie divisions, each reporting directly to David Zaslav. So it would be kind of a, what do you call it when you move a lateral move? It would be a lateral move for Peter Safran from heading up one studio under Warner Brothers to heading up another division in Warner Brothers. But still, it would be significant. I think that would speak a lot to how happy the executives at Warner Brothers Discovery are with how the new DC is coming together. Sure. But I think it would be a bad move. Look, you can disagree with me if you like, because I might be wrong about this. But nothing is more important right now to the movie future of Warner Brothers and the new DC universe launching properly and getting off to a strong start. And by start, I don't just mean this year, I mean the next 5 years. Getting off to a strong start. And I don't know if you think things are going well right now in the structure. I don't know if this is a good time to mess that up and pull Peter Safran out, because then what does James Gunn do? James Gunn publicly said the only reason, because he turned down the job before, then he said the only reason he accepted it is because they proposed having a co-CEO where the other guy can look after more of the business stuff, the mechanics. James Gunn can look after the creativity. And it was great. You take Peter Safran out of there, where does that leave James Gunn? Anyway, so it would be a very interesting move. I would totally understand the idea of saying, you know what, Peter Safran is looking real good right now to head up our major picture divisions. But I just don't think it's something you should mess up at the moment. Anyway, Rob, what do you think about the concept? First of all, it should be noted, DeLuca and Abdi are still the heads of Warner Brothers Pictures. And they will probably be on stage at CinemaCon in a couple of weeks presenting. But let's say they do get moved off and Zaslav wants to move on from them. Good move to move over Peter Safran from DC into Warner Brothers Pictures, or should they look outside and bring somebody else in? What would you do?
Well, first of all, the fact that he wants to bring Peter Safran over means that Superman's probably really good.
Yeah.
That's my first takeaway. But look, here's the thing. What Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca are doing at Warner Brothers right now is exactly what they should be doing. They're forging relationships with incredible filmmakers. You look at George Miller going all the way back to Road Warrior in 1981. It came out in 82 and domestically, but they're partnering up with great filmmakers. The problem is they also have to service that whole Wall Street metric. They should not have spent $100 million on Mickey 17. They should have spent $65 million. They should have thought about it as a Joker. I mean, it's like you make Joker.
By the way, that was another disaster they had.
Well, Joker, yeah, but that's a total disaster. But the thing is, the first Joker made $1 billion with a $65 million spend. That's what they should be focusing on. But the problem is the economics, especially when Wall Street are concerned, don't work out. Because even if you make a $65 million movie that makes $400 or $500 million, they still want movies that have a $300 million profit, not just breaking even or not just. And so you're working with these incredible filmmakers, but the movies are too expensive. And the thing is, if the movies that when you're trying to take these creative, like Furiosa was, nobody could have thought that movie would have flopped. You're going out with George Miller. If you're looking at what Fury Road did, same with Joker. You're looking at what these movies did. Fury Road was like 6 Academy Awards, and George Miller. So there was a precedent to think that you were going to win. Same with Joker. Same with Mickey 17. You've got Bong Joon-ho coming off a Best Picture win for Parasite.
But that didn't make a ton of money.
No, it didn't. And that's why they shouldn't have spent $100 million making it.
100%.
And they shouldn't have spent $200 million on Joker 2. I understand why they're doing it, but if Joker 2 had cost $80 million, then maybe, it wouldn't have been such a disaster. But the problem is the amount of money that the corporate overlords are expecting to be made is skewing. What Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca are doing is correct. Partnering up with great filmmakers to make great movies. That's what they're trying to do. But then at the same time, they're spending the kind of money thinking they're going to make the kind of returns that Wall Street is demanding, and that doesn't work.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You have to get those filmmakers to make you great movies. Use your tent poles to get the big dollars.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do. It has to be a combination of both. That's what's killing the industry. And then you get these great creators and they're hung out to dry because who's not going to take $100 million to make your science fiction movie?
Well, to your point, let's look again at
everybody
at Furiosa. Let's look at Mad Max Furiosa. To your point, right? They spent $170 million just on the production. Like, forget about marketing and all that kind of stuff. They threw up $170 million as a sequel to Mad Max Fury Road without the two main stars of Mad Max Fury Road, which is fine because the movie ended up being great, but they spent $170 million. You know how much everybody, it's kind of like the Mandela effect. Everybody thinks Mad Max Fury Road, when we think of that movie, everybody thinks it was a massive box office smash. It made $380 million. It didn't even make a Black Adam. It made $380 million worldwide. You're executives and you're saying, let's make a sequel to that, not have the two main stars. And if you do it for a budget of $70 million, okay, they made it for a budget of $170 million. And then we're kind of surprised when it lost money.
Well, and also because when you make something for $170 million, as we know, it's got to either make 3 or 4 times what it costs to break even or even become in profit because of marketing costs. You're paying for studio overhead and it's untenable. It's untenable unless you've got a Harry Potter that you know is going to make $1 billion, or a Christopher Nolan directing a Dark Knight or something like that. You've got to have both, and having both would keep a studio healthy.
But again, you got to make decisions, not just based on making creative and artist-led films, but you got to do creative and artist films that you know will still not lose you money.
Yes.
And that's where they've kind of been dropping the ball. I mean, you know, Chris, I get it. One of Abdi and DeLuca's first mandates was because AT&T owned Warner Brothers, destroyed their relationship with all the filmmakers.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of their first priorities was rebuild our relationship with the artists.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't ignore the business side of it too.
Absolutely.
If they do move on from these two at this point, and maybe they can turn it around, maybe they can't, but if they do move on, do you like the idea of moving Peter Safran over? Do you think that would be a mistake at this point? How would you handle it?
I feel like Peter Safran would do an excellent job. You just have to find somebody then to take that place to be with Gunn so that he still has that
Right.
deal. So that you have somebody else who can help steer the ship, right? Somebody who can see the trees through the forest, all that good stuff. I really like DeLuca and Abdi. I really enjoy them. I like their whole thesis of really connecting with the artist. They did something in January, though, that very much confused me. And that was after they re-upped Josh Goldstein's contract, who is in charge of marketing.
Right.
A 3-year contract. He then got axed in January. Now, this happened amidst all the fires and everything, so it wasn't something that got widely covered, but he's best known for all of the marketing done with Barbie, Beetlejuice, all these things. But obviously, Barbie is the one that we think of what a great marketing campaign of just commerce and film and synergy coming together, right? That seemed like a really weird move because with the risky slate that they have right now, that is very kind of art house focused or taking a new direction with the DCU, you need strong marketeers. We talked about this with Mickey 17. Great film, amazing, but being marketed in a completely dog shit way. You're not going to go see a movie if no one's ever told you about it. And obviously all of us are tuned in a little bit more, but so many of the movies that are coming up on Warner Brothers slate, my parents have never heard of. They don't know about a bunch of this stuff. You're alienating so much of your audience if you're not thinking that you need to tell them about a movie. And that's a huge, huge mistake they've been making of just not marketing in a smart way. I don't know if Rachel Lodi, who is the VP, has stepped into that role. I don't know who's in there now, but I thought that was so strange to do that marketing shakeup.
Well, and
when
look
they're
at the
having
marketing
such a
for
weird
Mickey
year.
17. Mickey 17 marketing was
Nothing.
confusing at best, and
Yeah.
that's why it did so badly.
And you know, I would keep DeLuca and Pam Abdi because, okay, they've tried this thing, but they have other filmmakers in the wings. People like Zach Krieger, who made Barbarian. He has
Yeah.
a movie
Yeah.
that
Yep.
they've made
Oh,
called
they've had wins. They've absolutely
what he
had
called
wins.
Weapon, which I would call it the Pulp Fiction of horror. I think that movie could break wide open. Not a huge expensive movie. And if that breaks, that is exactly, if they're going to forge a relationship, and also part of Zach Krieger's team is writer director who's doing what's he doing now? It's not Resident Evil, it's something else.
The companion guy?
Yeah,
check it
the
out.
writer director of Companion. But I think that they're poised to completely revolutionize the studio by getting some of the best up and coming filmmakers. They're already in business with Zach Krieger, who's doing the Resident Evil sequel or reboot.
Oh, a reboot of The Faculty.
That's what it
That's
is.
what
it is.
The
Right, right,
faculty.
yeah.
You know, so they're poised to have all these really exciting young filmmakers to be in their stable, which is exactly what they need. And I think, look, they went with these big creators. And by the way, they didn't have a choice. It's not like somebody's going to go, yeah, you know, Todd Phillips, you might want $200 million for your Joker sequel, but that's too expensive. We're not going to give it to you. They weren't in a position to do that. I mean, Todd Phillips was in the driver's seat. He got everything he wanted to make that movie.
Yeah, that's what happens when you give a filmmaker too much leeway.
And
too
so
much
I
power.
would say let them get Pam Abdi, Mike DeLuca 2.0, because they're poised to turn Warner Brothers around. And if Superman is great, you know, I know,
But that doesn't go to them. That's James
I know,
Gunn.
but it's still a Warner Brothers movie.
Right, but it's not under Abdi and Luca.
No,
right?
I understand that, but it's the studio. You know, high tide raises all ships, and I think they've got stuff on their slate. I don't know if Francis Lawrence's The Long Walk is Warner Brothers, but that's based on that movie's gonna kick ass too.
All right. So listen, we could talk about this a long time, but we've been on this topic a little bit too long. But the question is for you guys: What do you think will happen here? And do you think that if they do move on from Abdi and DeLuca, and they have done some good things, they have rebuilt the studio's reputation with filmmakers after AT&T's debacle. They have done that. They have delivered some big wins. Chris was pointing out Barbie. But they've also made some big business mistakes. Do you move on? And if so, do you move Peter Safran over? Or do you like, no, it's too soon to do that? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, what started off as this little low-budget action film that probably not a lot of people are going to go and watch, and was something that, you know, you could put Keanu Reeves in at that time because his career was practically dead. The John Wick franchise has gone on to become one of the most celebrated in the business. Now, after the end of John Wick 4, a lot of people thought, well, tout fini, that's it. The franchise is now done. But not so fast. There started to be some whispers and talks about, like, maybe we go back. Maybe we bring John Wick back. Maybe we do a John Wick 5. There have been some hints dropped over the last couple of months about that. But now it's official. Top executives over at Lionsgate have now said, oh, no, we're developing John Wick 5. This comes to us from Screen Rant, who says this, and this is one of the executives at Lionsgate. This world continues to grow and expand in incredible ways. Up next, of course, we have Ballerina, which I'm really looking forward to, which is our first spin-off movie, and we can't wait for that to release to the world. Of course, we've announced we're working on a 5th John Wick film. I think there are more spin-offs to come, a TV series, video game, etc., and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, we've heard the reports, we've seen that, but now this is the first time an executive's come right out and said, we're doing John Wick 5. We're doing John Wick 5. Okay, that brings up the question that I've already heard a lot of people asking, which is, do we need another John Wick film? I mean, he did his story. He dies. Do we need to continue that? Like, he's basically done the story. My response to that would be this. The John Wick story was really kind of done at the end of 1.
Yeah.
I mean, really. And then they decided to stretch it out and add new elements of the mythology. And we lean more heavily into the high table and the background and the story and the mythos of that world and all that kind of stuff. And then every movie becomes this increasingly raising the table of what wild, crazy stuff can we see John Wick do now? Now, Keanu Reeves is approaching his 60s, or is he in his 60s already? Can somebody look up the age for Keanu Reeves for me? But he's getting older. He's still in tremendous shape.
He's 60.
He's 60. Okay. So he's still in tremendous shape, obviously. So I think he can still pull all this stuff off. To me, the magic of John Wick is just, it's kind of like a zombie movie in a way. They're all the same, but some are better than others. And when you do them great, like say a Train to Busan or something like that, even though it's the same thing we've already seen, it's ludicrously fun. I can just go back and watch John Wick doing his thing. Give him somebody to be mad at. Just give him somebody to be mad at, and I'm on board with it. So I love this idea. Chris, should they just let John Wick go and maybe try to do more stuff with the world of the Continental and things like that? Or do you like the idea of them going back to it and having another John Wick film?
I want him to live forever. I want him to be resurrected. I want them to Solomon Grundy his body. That's what I want. As long as the stories are still fun and good, I think this is fine. I do think exploring the world is probably the smarter move, because if we do have this reboot of his death was faked or it does take away some of the stakes here. But then again, we see this with superheroes all the time. No, they weren't really dead. This actually happened.
Yeah.
So I feel like we can do that.
To be fair, though, on that point real quick, I never actually bought he was dead.
Yeah.
Because we see him pass out. We don't ever really see him die.
Exactly.
Nope, they
And then
just
it's
have
like
a funeral.
we
You
don't-
can't trust an off-screen death.
Yeah. So even when that movie was done, I was like, I don't think he's dead.
Yeah,
Well,
me too.
I went into it because my CinemaCon Lyft driver spoiled it for me, where he's like, oh, you're here to talk about movies? You saw John Wick last night, right? It's crazy that he died. And I was like, cool, man. Thank you so much. Good chat. But then when I watched it, I had that same kind of reaction of, but is he?
Yeah. You're like, stupid Uber driver.
Yeah.
I didn't, even at the end of the movie, I didn't actually believe he was dead. Anyway, Rob, what do you think? Should they just move on from John Wick at this point? I mean, Keanu Reeves is 60. He's made comments before about his knees don't quite work the way they used to. Or do you absolutely keep going back to this well if you can?
Johnny Five is alive.
No, I think for sure come on, man. They made
Steve Guttenberg going to be in this too?
Oh, the Goose?
Steve Gutenberg needs
The
more work.
Goose?
Did you see?
Should.
He's
the
the head of-
hero.
After what?
The
Yes,
goddamn
after what he
hero.
did in the LA fires, bring
Yes.
Gutenberg back.
The
Justice
Goose is
for
the head of
Steve.
the High Council.
Cocoon 3. No, I think that why not? You know, this is a beautiful, handsome-looking franchise. I've never thought that I would get as much enjoyment about watching one man shoot so many other dudes in the head as I have from this franchise. I think this franchise delivers. I mean, it is. Look, ultimately, it's a great B-movie franchise, you know, but it's got an A-list sheen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy watching these movies. Some I like more than others. I think, like you said, the first one is a kind of a perfect movie for what it is.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
I mean, it is, the cast is great. Everything is great about it. I mean, if you think about it and you go back and watch, like how John Wick just knows the cops. And if he wants to call somebody to clean his house, they come and clean his house. Hey, John, how's it going? I mean, I love the first John Wick. Loved it. And then it gets a little silly. But you know what? Now you got the Continental TV series. You got Ballerina coming out. The world that they're building is interesting. I mean, maybe if they did, like, I always think about Godfather 2, where they've got like one story paralleling, like one story in the past paralleling. There's so many things you could do with this. And if he doesn't want to do all the stunts, make John Wick, the present day John Wick, less of a focus, or I don't know. I mean, we're getting John Wick in Ballerina. Who doesn't want to see him?
By the way, he's not just a quick cameo in Ballerina. He's in a lot of the movies.
Yeah, I know.
But who was it that brought the other day? Like, just give us Nobody, Atomic Blonde, and John Wick all together in one movie. And then you got your Avengers. You know, I still say, you talk about the first movie being nearly perfect. Like, without exaggeration, one of my all-time favorite, I'd say my top 15 all-time favorite movie moments ever. This Russian mob boss on the phone with the lackey. You want to tell me why you laid hands on my son? He stole John Wick's car. Oh. That line. Oh. It was like one of the greatest moments. It told you everything you needed to know. It was so great. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Executives of Lionsgate are saying, yeah, we are currently working on John Wick 5. We're going to make this thing happen. Should they stop at this point? Maybe they start calling the franchise Old Man John Wick. I don't know. I'm all for it, though. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still have a number of other things to talk about, including Sadie Sink of Stranger Things fame has been cast in Spider-Man 4, and we got some ideas about who she's going to be playing. Also, the Russo brothers are given some cryptic answers about, hey, could we see any of the Disney Plus characters come into the Avengers movies? And we're going to talk about what they said and what we think they should do. And also, the first trailer. We said yesterday that the new trailer for Lilo and Stitch should probably drop within the week. Well, it dropped today. And it's going to make not money, not a lot of money. It's going to make all the monies. We're going to talk about those things and a few things more. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second, thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Ridge Wallets and NordVPN. Hey guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor for today's episode, Ridge. All right guys, let's talk wallets for a second. If you are still using that bulky, falling apart, overstuffed leather wallet, then it's time for an upgrade. I've had my eye on Ridge wallets for a couple of years now, and I finally recently made the switch to it, and I am absolutely never going back. This thing looks great, it's sleek, ultra minimalist, and can hold up to 12 cards plus cash, all without bulking up my pockets. It's made from high performance materials like carbon fiber and titanium, meaning it's built to last a lifetime. Ridge will even back it with a lifetime warranty. And this thing has the dual combo of looking great and being far more comfortable than that thick wallet. Because there's no win with the thick wallet, right? Like if you put it in your back pocket, it's uncomfortable to sit down, and it looks absolutely stupid in the front of your pants if you shove it into your front pocket. And right now, Ridge is having their once-a-year anniversary sale. Get up to 40% off at ridge.com/Campea. Just head over to ridge.com/Campea to see their biggest sale of the year. Now, after you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that I sent you. Once again, that's ridge.com/Campea. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, NordVPN. All right, let's be real. There's nothing worse than wanting to stream your favorite show or watch a live game only to find out it's blocked in your country. But guess what? With NordVPN, that is never a problem. With just one click, you can switch your virtual location and access content from anywhere in the world. I have loved using NordVPN. Whether I'm traveling and using public Wi-Fi or just shopping online, NordVPN keeps my personal info safe and private. By switching my location, I can even save money on flights, hotels, and subscriptions. It's like a cheat code for getting the best deals. NordVPN is the fastest VPN in the world, so there's no buffering when I'm streaming. Plus, their threat protection feature blocks malware, trackers, and phishing attempts, keeping my devices safe 24/7. And with just one account, I can protect up to 10 devices, so my whole setup is covered. So to get the best discount on your NordVPN plan, head to nordvpn.com/John Campea, and our link will even give you 4 extra months for free on the 2-year plan. Plus, there's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Links in the description. Check it out now. And thank you to our friends at Ridge and NordVPN for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Spider-Man 4 is coming, and we got our first new casting news, and it's big. Stranger Things star, and one of the stars of the Academy Award-winning film The Whale, Sadie Sink, has been cast, according to Deadline, to join Tom Holland in the next Spider-Man movie. And if you're like me, you might be surprised to find out she's turning 23 in a couple of weeks. I know, like when I think of Sadie Sink, I still think of her as a little kid, but she's turning 23 years old. Now, this comes to us from Deadline, wrote the following. Exclusive. With production set to start later this year on the next installment of the Spider-Man franchise, series star Tom Holland looks to have found a new co-star. One who is no stranger to popular IP. That's terrible, by the way. Sources tell Deadline that Stranger Things star Sadie Sink is set to join the sequel from Sony Pictures and Marvel Studios. Holland is set to return as Peter Parker. Destin Daniel Cretton, of course, the guy who did such a marvelous job directing Shang-Chi, is directing with Amy Pascal and Marvel president Kevin Feige producing. Okay. First of all, this is huge. Okay, take Sadie Sink's name out of it for a second. This is the first new casting for this Spider-Man thing. This is the what? The tangibilization of Spider-Man 4. This is the first real signs of life that this is a real thing. Now, of course, everybody's going to be talking about, okay, well, who is Sadie Sink going to be playing? A lot of people are already saying, I saw in the live chat, a lot of say, oh, but clear, she's going to be Mary Jane. She ain't going to be Mary Jane, guys. Spider-Man already has his MJ. It's not the classic Mary Jane, but he's not going to meet another MJ, okay? He's got his love interest. It's Zendaya. That's it.
That'd be a real weird and specific kink.
Yeah, I only get turned on my girls
women
with the initials.
These 2 initials.
What's your name?
Makes things simple.
Maralissa Jansen. Great.
Perfect.
Let's hook up. So here's who she's going to be playing. I'll tell you who she's going to be playing. She's going to be playing Jean Grey. Now, that's not an official thing, but if you guys remember, a couple of months ago, we covered a story, and we had said that we ourselves had heard some back channel whispering that Marvel was talking with Sadie Sink to potentially be Jean Grey, right? That was out there before. And that would make perfect sense. This would be an excellent opportunity to start introducing X-Men characters, more X-Men characters. We got some at the end of the Marvels and stuff like that. But to get a new one in here, this would be perfect. Now, of course, it does also give you the possibility to set up a love triangle because Jean Grey is already the tip of the iceberg of the greatest love triangle in comic book history with Jean Grey, Scott Summers, and Wolverine. Why not put her right in the middle of another one? Let's say we create a little love triangle with her, Spider-Man, and MJ. Be that as it went. You know what? As a matter of fact, the Deadline article also is speculating that as for who Sink will be playing, the prevailing theory is that she'll be introduced as X-Men character Jean Grey. But don't count out the idea that she shows up as another redheaded Spider-Man character. But like maybe Gwen Stacy, maybe, who did I say? Felicity Jones?
Felicia Hardy.
Felicia Harding. Felicity Jones is a real person.
Who played her?
Yeah, maybe she's actually going to be her. But I think the writing's on the wall. I think she's going to, again, this is me speculating as a fan. Could be wrong, just speculating, just guessing. I think she's going to be Jean Grey. We're going to get our first in the Spider-Man with his Spider-Man and his amazing friends. So this is huge. This is huge for Sadie Sink. This is huge for Spider-Man 4. And this could be the first real big first step into bringing in the true proper X-Men into this universe. Anyway, Rob, you heard about this story. You're the one who told me about this story, actually. You're the first person I heard this from. What do you make of this? What does it mean? Who she's playing? Your thoughts.
I have a different theory.
Okay.
I think she's going to play Angelica Jones, Firestar, a character
was
that
gonna
was
bring her up.
introduced in
And
Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends
Friends.
cartoon. Because here's the thing. If you introduce Jean Grey, who's one of the key important X-Men figures, in a Spider-Man movie, I think it takes away from the importance of the character. But Firestar is a character that was created as a Spider-Man sidekick. And I think Jean Grey has to have a little bit more gravitas. Sadie Sink is young. And after all, it is Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends that she was introduced in. And I think it would be badass to see Firestar. I think watching them work off one another. Now, I'm not saying it's not going to be Jean Grey. I'm just saying, for me, the first thing that my mind went to was Firestar, because Firestar is a Spider-Man character that was literally created.
Does that mean you put Iceman in the movie too?
Well, I mean, that's that you never know. But then again, if you do bring in Jean Grey, I just don't like the idea of X-Men being introduced in Spider-Man. I think they deserve their own. Look,
it is a big launch. I mean, they introduced Black Panther in Captain America.
I know.
Civil War. It's a huge platform to launch that character.
I mean, I think Sadie Sink might be too. It depends on what they're going to do with the X-Men.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, but I just love. Look, do I really think that it's going to be Firestar? To be honest, no. But if I was making the movie, I would make Angelica Jones. I would make that, because she looks like she could be Firestar.
Well, she also looks like she could be a younger Jean Grey.
It does, but I think she's...
But I mean, one of us brought up in the pre-show, we were talking about, it's like it could be Gwen Stacy, because yes, she has red hair, but you dye her. You pointed out
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Bryce Dallas Howard. You just dye her hair, and it's no big deal. So I don't know, Chris, what do you make of this, and who are you thinking Sadie Sink may be?
Oh man, I'm really glad you brought up Firestar. I actually had her profile up on my page of like, yeah, that could work. I think
she's a mutant.
She is a mutant, so we still get that. And I'm kind of with Rob here on, I like the idea of I don't want to say lesser mutant, but somebody who's not a team leader position being introduced in these other films. That being said, though, Jean Grey showing up at university with Peter, and she's dealing with horrific headaches and something goes wrong and that kind of thing. I think you can still play with that. I just wouldn't want it to take away from the Spider-Man story. I wouldn't want it to be this is really actually about Jean Grey, especially because there has a tendency in X-Men stories to really focus on Jean, and she's not my favorite. I'm going to be real honest.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of this character. So when you have somebody like Sadie Sink, that gives me a little bit more hope that we're going to do something interesting and different with her this time. I don't want to go diving straight into the Dark Phoenix saga. I don't want to do any of that.
I'm sure they won't do that.
We'll go for
I'm
the fourth
hoping.
time around.
Yeah,
But that's why I just think she could be so much more fun. Firestar would be hers, as opposed to emulating. You know, we've had 2 Jean Greys in movies.
Yeah.
And so if she was playing somebody new, it would be unique to her.
Firestar's
But then again, we are going to get a Jean Grey regardless.
sure.
So some
Someone's
actress
going to
have
play
to
her.
the role, right?
I think, though, a Felicia Hardy is a really interesting choice here, because we do have a Peter who no longer has any of his friends or support system. And I think it'd be interesting to play with, hey, no, I like you. I support you. I've got you. Sometimes I do a few things that are kind of bad. How do you feel about that,
Right.
Pete? And I think that's a fun thing for him to explore as he is trying to be a superhero without a mentor. And I think that's something that Sadie Sink would have a lot of fun with as well.
A superhero whose alter ego has been wiped clean from the earth.
Yeah.
Right. So let me throw out a couple of things here. Number one, the idea, when I was just joking when I said Spider-Man is an Amazing Friends. But yeah.
What if it's actually called Spider-Man is Amazing Friends?
Let me throw out a couple things here, just to kind of maybe quell this a bit. When they wanted to bring in characters for Spider-Man to play off of, they didn't go to the C bench. They brought in Iron Man.
Right.
Right. Now, to your point, Christy, you brought up that maybe if we had Jean Grey in here, would run the risk of it becoming a Jean Grey story instead of a Spider-Man one. That was my exact fear that I had with the first Spider-Man movie. I thought it was going to be, oh, it's actually Iron Man 4 with special guest Spider-Man. Yeah. But they did a great job with it. It was clearly very solidly Spider-Man's movie, and Tony played a pivotal but a marginal role in it. Same thing with, again, we brought up Black Panther with Civil War, a pivotal but marginal role in it. And at some point, I think if they're looking at as a launch pad for X-Men to start paving the way for X-Men coming into the universe, depending on how they're bringing them in the universe, because a lot of us think they might be using multi-dimensional stuff in Secret Wars to ultimately bring them in. So this would go counter to that. But using your Spider-Man franchise as the launching pad for one of the characters would be an interesting idea. And I just wonder if she would just be, Firestar would just be too obscure of a character for them to bring in. Because don't forget, right now, one of the problems I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe is facing is overcrowding, is overpopulation. So we're about to get this glut of X characters coming in. Like literally, there's hundreds on the roster that can bring in. Do we extend that even more by bringing in some of these obscure started in thing? But I am with you. It would be kind of fun. And I would love to see Bobby Drake come in and create the threesome of the actual Spider Friends, the Amazing Spider Friends in there. That would be kind of fun.
I just love that cartoon.
I loved it as a kid, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and it was the kind of thing where it would be a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, and it would be something, look, it would be something that would make Spider-Man 4 unique. As opposed to being immediately tied to something else, the same way that Spider-Man is casted. I mean, Peter Parker is no longer tied to the MCU at all. So I don't know.
Now we're all purely speculating here. For all we know,
look, it's probably not.
She's his landlord in his apartment.
Yeah, it's probably not. Has nothing to do with
Playing
Firestar.
Squirrel Girl.
It's finally done, and Mephisto at the same time.
Sweet.
Anyway, guys, question
played
is
Squirrel
for
Girl,
you. What do you think of Sadie? By the way, none of us have commented on this.
Apologies,
I
sorry.
love that Sadie Sink is joining the
Yeah,
MCU.
she's amazing.
She's great. We
Yeah,
love her. So I love this. I'm still going to put my chips on that she's going to be Jean Grey, just because that's what we've been thinking for a long time. But it could be anybody. Maybe it's Firestar. Maybe it's, I don't know, anybody else you can think of. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's stick on the theme here of the MCU for a moment and talk about this. Obviously, the big thing coming, not just in the MCU, but in the movie world, is the new Avengers films that are coming, right? Infinity War and Endgame are two of the highest grossing films in the history of cinema. And I have no doubt that the next two are going to be right up there too. We got Doomsday and we got Secret Wars coming. At one point, Kevin Feige said about 6 months ago that, I don't know, you can probably expect to see 50 to 60 characters in it. That's a lot. And where are you going to get them from? Now, in a recent interview, the Russo brothers were basically asked, what are the chances that you bring MCU Disney Plus characters into the movieverse? And their answer was pretty interesting. This comes to us from the folks over at Screen Rant, who wrote, in an interview with Tech Radar, the outlet asked the Russo brothers if characters like Moon Knight, Ms. Marvel, Kate Bishop, or Wiccan could show up in Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, following their respective introductions on various Disney Plus shows. While keeping it cryptic, Anthony Russo gave the following response about how they are approaching the cast for the two movies. He said, in terms of what we're drawing on for our storytelling, we take a comprehensive view of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, without getting into anything more specific than that, this is the universe we're telling a story within. You can read into that what you like. All right. For me, the way I interpreted that is that the Russos are not looking at the MCU as two different things. I personally do, and I kind of think maybe they should, but they look at one holistic Marvel Cinematic Universe. That includes the movies and the Disney Plus series. Hell, I think they probably even are thinking about the animated stuff. At the same time, they take what they're calling a comprehensive view of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. that being the case, I don't think they're even considering whether or not a character in the MCU is a character from the movies or a character from the TV shows. I think they're going to pick their characters that they want in the movie strictly based on what character do we think is going to work in our movie. And I think that's just about it. So I think there are going to be characters that are going to be on the table. Now, I want us to go over to, again, I forgot to give Jonathan the heads up on this. I meant to.
I am ready with your classroom.
Let's go over to the classroom.
What a
I knew you
pro.
would be. All right.
My inner
I
demon.
want to bring up some Marvel Cinematic Universe
should've
characters that are Disney Plus series characters and talk about the likelihood of could they be in Doomsday or Secret Wars or both, either or both. Let's going to start with Moon Knight. Moon Knight is a character that I'm going to say has a 20% chance of being in the upcoming movies. I don't think the series went over particularly well. I think they have some regrets about the series. You know, I love the actors in it, all that kind of stuff. But I think there's a chance, but I'm going to go 20%. Rob, what about you for Moon Knight?
I'd say about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't think this show did a good job of establishing Moon Knight as a hero. It was too focused on other stuff. So why would he even be incorporated into anything? But maybe, look, I love Moon Knight. I do.
He's
I
one of
love-
your favorites.
But it's a great hot toy I got out of that. But other than that,
Chris, chances we see Moon Knight in there.
I'd raise it to 40. Make him make sense. Put Dune Daddy in it. Let's go.
Yeah, I
All
don't
right.
see why you can't soft reboot a little bit. On some of that.
Exactly. Yeah, because he also doesn't have to be that specific, Mark.
Well,
That's-
yeah. Well,
yeah.
remember they ended the series with the third personality popping
Exactly.
up, right? So I mean, but is there too much? To Rob's point, is he even a hero at this point? And do you have to do you have to spend too much time in these movies? There's going to be so many characters. Do you have time to dedicate just to Moon Knight to unpack him a little bit?
Just put in there, who are you? That's a great question, and never move on from it.
So we're all saying under 50, though. We're all
Yes,
saying under 50.
yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the next Disney Plus character, Ms. Marvel. All right. I'm going to say 100% Ms. Marvel. And it's not even because of the concept art that came out. It's clear they got plans for Ms. Marvel. Now, whether you have watched the show or not a ton of people have watched the show. It's one of the best things they've done on TV. It's fantastic. And she was the best part of the Marvels. Kamala Khan, she was the best part of the Marvels. She's delightful to watch, love her. And Kevin Feige loves her. The uppity ups at Marvel love her. They clearly set up that thing with Kate Bishop at the end of it and everything too. They clearly have big plans for her. And then you throw on top of that the concept art. I think 100%. And she's going to be tied in with some way with Shang-Chi, with the rings. They've already kind of been mixing those mythologies about her bangle with the rings and everything. I think 100% she's going to be there. Chris, chances Ms. Marvel is going to be in one or both of these movies.
Yeah, absolutely. 99.9%.
So you're going to close to mine.
Yeah.
One, okay, Rob?
no, I'm going to say 100% too. Just let me say, though, for the record, I completely object to what they're doing with Miss Marvel right now in the comics.
Oh, I'm not aware of what they're doing with her in the comics.
Oh, well, I don't quite know all the details because we haven't got them yet, but they are retconning all of X-Men history. All of it. Every big X-Men event you remember, and they're going to use her to do it
No.
for their 50th anniversary of Giant Size X-Men 1
All right, well, we'll see how that turns
with
out.
writers that don't deserve to be able to do that.
All right. This next character is a bit of a cheat because he is a movie character who kind of became a Disney Plus character, Loki. Now, I have heard no official reports of anything of them having Loki in it, to be honest with you. But I'm still going to say 80% for Loki on this. And the reason I'm going to go as high as 80% is because my guess right now is that they substitute out Molecule Man for Loki. Now, they're going to change the story up from the comics, but I think the basic bones of the story will be there. And I think that MacGuffin character, I think, becomes Loki, who is sitting on the throne holding all the timelines together and all that kind of stuff. So because I haven't heard anything else verifying this, I won't say 100, but I'm going to say a solid 80% that it's going to be Loki. Chris?
I think I'd go a little higher. I think I'd go 90 just because of how Loki season 2 ended, and it sets it up perfectly to have him be that kind of replacement character. Side quest, I also got really excited because of the way you said Loki. I thought you said Lockheed at first. And I was like, hell yeah, I bet that little dragon's going to be in here. That'd be rad.
Rob,
Loki will be good.
chances Loki's in there.
100%.
You can go 100.
Because you can't take. I mean, he's an establishment character from the MCU. He's old school, and where they left him, how do you do Secret Wars and not have him in there? Especially to where he is, I think it's a necessity. You have to, and plus, he is one of the heavy hitters.
He's absolutely one of the heavy hitters. I mean, they didn't treat him as that for a long time, but he is absolutely one of the heavy hitters. And again, now, do you agree with my theory that the best place to put him is as a replacement for
100%.
Man in there?
And you have both forces having to get to him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think that they can do. They have to put him in the movie.
All right. So let's go on to the next one. This was a recent one. Different screen, John. This is a different one. Agatha. Of course, Agatha just had a huge presence on Disney Plus, massive viewership that went up and up and up and up. I loved the character. I thought the show was surprisingly good. I'm going to say 10%. I just don't see how Agatha fits into an Avengers style story at all. Now, again, the success of the show, Catherine Hahn is a goddess. I just don't see a fit for. I think you can tell other stories with her, but I think she needs to be on the periphery of the MCU. I don't see her fitting in there, but it's not a nothing chance. I'm going to say 10%. Rob, what about you?
I'm going to go higher because depending on what they do with Doom, if Doom in fact is imbued with supernatural powers,
Which they have done in the comics.
That's the thing, and I think that there's going to be a supernatural element to this story. I think there has to be and I think Agatha and both Scarlet Witch and Agatha are going to play some role.
Ooh.
Chris?
I was going to say 1% because what's that ghost going to do?
You know what they're going to do? Remember at the end of the one Iron Man movie, he took out his reactor, and then in the next movie we see him in, he's just back to being Iron Man again. I mean, she could just pop up in the next thing and she's already got a body back. How'd you get your body back? It's a story for another time.
Ask Mark Spector.
They'll be like, Moon Knight gave it to me. They're like, who are you? I don't know.
I don't know.
Move on.
Move on.
All right, let's go on to this character. This is another character you might have forgotten had their own Disney Plus show. Echo. This was one they really dropped the ball on. This is a character that could have been so damn interesting, and they literally made me not care about her. I don't see any place for her to fit in, not just in an Avengers movie. I don't see a place for her to fit in even back in Disney Plus. I'm going to go 0% that we see Echo in Doomsday or Secret Wars. Rob?
Look, I would have said 0% too, but the fact that they'd make a direct reference to her in Daredevil means that she's not
Indirect.
forgotten.
They didn't even name her.
Well, no, but I mean, you know, I think that there's a possibility. I think there's a possibility Cloak and Dagger can be in this movie. I mean, you know, the New Mutants. Who knows?
New Mutants. Get Anya Taylor-Joy back in there.
I
Chris,
love that, by the way.
chances we see Echo.
Yeah, I'd go 25% just because she appeared in the comics. So there's the possibility.
All right.
In the Secret Wars comics, not just Marvel in general.
Right. Yeah.
Slightly connected to Echo. He's on right now. Daredevil.
I've heard tell of him.
This is an interesting one. Because with the head of Marvel TV saying we're doing Daredevil shows every year, like that's a big commitment. There's going to be a lot of people that think Daredevil being in it is 100%. And I think that is way overestimating it. Do I think it's likely? Yes. But the highest I will go is 70%. I really do think they might be just positioning him to keep him on Disney Plus. And yeah, and unless you feel tempted to say he's way too popular not to put him in there. Agatha had higher viewership than Daredevil does. Just saying. So I still think it's likely. I'm going to say 70%. Chris, what about you?
Ooh. With that TV schedule, that is hard. And we talked about this yesterday of, is he going to be going toe-to-toe in this event with all these other superpowered people? Because he is more boots on the ground. Although they have heightened his powers, it seems. 45.
Oh, okay. So you're going to go lower than I
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
All right, Rob, what about you?
I think higher than that, only because like we've seen the Daredevil popping up in Spider-Man. I think whether it's Matt Murdock or whether it's Daredevil and you're dealing with the multiverse, he will be in some way, shape, or form. We will see him in either Doomsday or Secret Wars in some capacity.
Okay.
Might
so
just be a cameo.
what number are you going to give it?
I'm going to give it 75%.
75. All right. So right around where I am too. All right. Now, this is another little bit of a cheat like Loki because it's a movie character that went over to Disney Plus. Wanda, Scarlet Witch. I mean, again, the veracity of that concept art is still a little bit in question, but there was some of it that kind of looked like Scarlet Witch was in there. If he does get into the big mystic stuff, there's no bigger, heavier hitter you got than Wanda. And there has been some overtures that maybe we could see Olsen returning. Look, remember I was saying I just don't see how Agatha is a fit for this. I don't see how Wanda isn't a fit for this.
Agreed.
Again, she's out, she's dead. So I'm not going to say 100, but I'm going to give her my second highest rating I'm going to say 85% that we see Wanda in this. Rob, what about you?
I'm going to go 100. I mean, you have to think about what Avengers characters. I mean, she was a multiverse of madness. This is about the multiverse. This is Secret Wars. I mean, I think you have to have her, especially because her long legacy. And I don't know if you're going to go there, but are you going to talk about White Vision or Vision too? Because, I mean, again, the two of them, and you've got a Vision TV series, I think, and I'm anticipating because of Terry Metalis' involvement, it's going to be one of the best, if not the best, MCU TV series. So I think that you have to have Vision and Scarlet Witch. They're like peanut butter cups.
Chris, chances we see Wanda.
Oh, yeah, I'd go pretty high. I think like an 80%. One, because you can kind of get her redemption correct as opposed to just, well, I guess I'll die. There's also a really interesting theory that some people have that Wanda cannot be killed. And then you also have other Wanda. We have other Wandas in the multiverse
Right,
too.
exactly.
But there's always
So-
other everybody's in the
Well, yeah, but we've
multiverse.
already met that
But we've
one.
seen her.
So she's been around. She knows what's up.
She's got a lot of explaining to do.
She does.
And her kids.
Because they all probably
Yeah.
think she
Young
killed
Avengers.
that Illuminati.
Yep.
All right, now that brings us into the next one that I was going to bring up. White Vision, connected to WandaVision. I'm actually going to say there's a higher chance that Vision's in it than I even think Wanda is. Like Wanda, I give 85%, but I honestly think White Vision is 100% going to be a part of this. They've got, like you said, they got his new show coming out. Vision is himself one of the Avengers heavy hitters when used properly and stuff like that. I don't see there being a possibility that White Vision isn't in this. Chris, what do you think?
Oh, yeah, he's got a show to promote. Let's go.
Also, I mean, first of all, Paul Bettany's a movie star.
Yes, he is.
And I don't think, I mean, his arc in Avengers Age of Ultron was amazing. And, you know, I was born yesterday. I mean, his character is so great. And I really think what they're going to do with him in this, in his show, it's going to be, plus his power. I mean, if we're talking about the power that he wields, I mean, he can carry Mjolnir. I mean, it's like, you got to have Vision. You got to have Vision.
All right. So,
White or otherwise.
who am I missing? Who am I missing here with potential?
I mean, maybe Punisher.
All right, let's put in Punisher in this. I'm gonna go 0%
Well,
on
I'm glad I
Punisher.
even bothered.
No, but it's good that you brought him up, right? Because because he is there. I just don't see how he fits into the story.
Yeah. Oh, they're saying She-Hulk in the chat.
Well, okay. So we'll do She-Hulk next.
Okay.
But Punisher, I just don't see as a fit for this. He's got his own Disney special coming up next year. That's probably like an hour long or something like that. I love John Bernthal's Punisher. Love him. I just don't see how that fits in here. What do you think?
Well, if you do Battle World and you have different, I could see him. He would fit into the Battle World.
There's that Sandman panel.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways to put him in. You know, and I think if it's a 3-hour movie, you're going to have little bits for all of these people because they're going to do what Hickman did in the comic. I
Chris?
think.
Yeah, I'd still give it like a 15% chance or something of him popping in.
Well, now let's move on to the next one. She-Hulk. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to say 60%. And the only reason I'm going to give 60% is because of the concept art that came out. But listen, Everybody knows I hated the show. But I'm totally down for them to go back to it because all the building blocks are there.
Yeah.
All the pieces are there. You got something there. You could make something great out of She-Hulk. They just had comedy writers who couldn't write comedy and legal procedural writers who couldn't write legal procedurals. That's what ruined that. The building blocks are there. And you've got the perfect actress playing her. You got Tatiana Maslany. Don't squander that. I'm going to say 60% we see She-Hulk. What do you think, Chris?
Slightly higher, 70. Redeem her.
Yeah.
Make her make sense.
Not only that, if we truly are going to delve into the multiverse, she could be a member of the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's something that we could see. I mean, I would love to see her in a Fantastic Four uniform. That'd be dope.
All right. Last one I'm going to do because then we need to move on because we're running a little bit long today. I hate to do it, but we should address it because it's a major character that got introduced in a major MCU show. I believe I'm pronouncing it. Is it
Gaia.
Gaia?
She's going to be the cornerstone of this film.
Gaia. Now, on paper, Gaia should be the cornerstone. You literally have a character who has everybody's powers. Everybody's powers. There's no way they ever reference this character again. They should never, ever, ever reference this character again. This was one of the dumbest things. No, I'll say it. It was the worst thing that Marvel has ever done on Disney Plus. It was one of the stupidest ideas and badly executed. You know, we were saying She-Hulk was terrible, but all the building blocks were there. This has nothing. It has nothing. And so I'm going to go Gaia. Big 0% on this. She flew away somewhere and is having tea on Mars or something. I don't know. Chris, what do you think?
What if we do 10% and that 10% is she gets spaghettified?
Oh, that would be fun. Hey, listen, if you want, I got two good ones. If you want, remember I was saying Dr. Doom needs to make a big introduction, just kind of like Thanos came out by beating up Hulk. You want to kill two birds with one stone? Dr. Doom comes out, confronts Gaia, and just shreds her. Ooh. And if you really want the audience to get on board with like, not just fearing him, like taking out Gaia, but to really hate this new Dr. Doom, have him kill Lilo from the new Lilo and Stitch. Have him kill that little girl and everybody will hate
I'm on
him.
board with this.
So he'll kill Gaia first to show how powerful he is. Then he kill the little girl from Lilo and
She's
Stitch.
going to be like,
everybody to hate him.
He's gonna be like, Doom, I'm giving you from 1 to 3. And he's like,
I'm giving you to the count of 3, dude. Yes. Anyway,
and he's
okay.
like, if you're going to shoot, shoot.
Rob, any chance we see Gaia in this?
Oh, good, the bad, and the ugly.
I'm
reference there.
not going to say 0, but I'll give it 10%.
10%?
You know, I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
All right, guys. The question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, the Russo brothers saying we look at the MCU in a comprehensive view, that whether they're a character on a TV show or in a movie, we see it all the same for drawing our characters. Are there some characters maybe we left out that you think could pop up in there? Maybe you think it's just going to be everybody they possibly can. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? I think it might have just been yesterday. We were asked, when are we going to see the Lilo and Stitch trailer? And I think I said, within the next week. Within the next week, we're seeing. I think Jonathan actually said probably tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tomorrow is right now. And tomorrow was it. The Lilo and Stitch trailer has dropped. And as I said a little bit earlier, this movie is not going to make money. It's not going to make a lot of money. It is going to make all the money. It is going to make all the monies. This is a movie that I cannot believe how good this looks. And they did two things in this trailer that are phenomenal. Number one, the trailer itself felt very true to the original animated thing. Not that I think that's the most important thing. The most important thing is making a great movie. And if you got to deviate, you deviate. But the one thing they did was they made it feel very true to the original film. But the second thing they did was that it feels very fresh. It feels updated. It feels like they were gonna, remember I said you don't sacrifice making the best movie you can just to be faithful to the original material. They found, it feels like this trailer suggests they made the best movie they could while being true to the original material, while updating it a bit where they need to and where they must. We all knew going into Lilo and Stitch that there are two main things they got to do. One, you got to nail the CGI on Stitch. You got to nail the CGI on it. They clearly did that. And we knew that a while ago when they showed us little previews. So they clearly did that. But the second thing they must is cast the right kid to play Lilo. It has to be a kid that gives us all that feeling we had when we saw Baby Yoda for the first time. That I want to eat her up with a bowl of ice cream. Like, this, so sweet, so perfect. This little girl, I mean, I don't know how you do it better. This little girl instantly won my heart. I was watching this trailer with Anne. Anne was like crying. It was so adorable and so sweet. I mean, you need to put a metal cocoon around her to protect her at all costs. And I was telling Jonathan, you need to do genetic experiments on her to not let her age. She is so perfect. Keep her like that. I don't know that I've seen a sweeter, more adorable thing ever. And then watching her interact with Lilo, or with Stitch, I mean, it so captured the spirit of the original at the same time. This is going to be huge domestically. It's going to do huge numbers internationally. I have now decided this is going to be the #1 box office film of the year. I think this is going to beat Superman. This is going to beat Thunderbolts. This is going to beat Fantastic Four. This is going to be the #1 box office film of the year. Now, for all we knew, the movie sucks and they just put together a good trailer. Okay, maybe that happens. But I'm telling you, and you know what I saw more than anything else online today? One of the common comments I've been seeing from everywhere online is, man, it looks like Disney did a live action adaptation right. Like, hey, why couldn't they do this with their other live action? It just, even people like me who are kind of iffy on Disney's live action because they're hit and miss, is like, oh, they cracked the code. They nailed this. This looks fun. It looks charming. Even the aliens that are chasing Stitch, they kept them the same and they look perfect. Like when this cloak turns off and even his movements of trying to cover himself up is like, oh my God. And just taking the dog collar off himself. And man, I don't know. Again, I'm always very iffy on Disney live action adaptations. They are very hit and miss. But I don't know how they could have put together a better trailer for this. And they got the most important thing. What's the word? Is it Ohana?
Ohana.
Ohana means family. And it's like, oh, when he says Stitch is bad, I'm like, oh. And she's like, families aren't perfect. It's like, but it can still be good. But still good. Oh, my heart is filled with joy watching this trailer. I cannot wait for this. Chris, you had a chance to see the Lilo and Stitch trailer. I don't know if you had the same apprehension about it that I did, but I don't know. Where were your thoughts? And then how did the trailer hit you?
Oh man, I love this trailer. I was cautiously optimistic going into this, and I still am. But they've kept Chris Sanders on, who obviously co-directed the original film and is in the voice of Stitch. And I love this voice. I got to talk to Chris at a party about doing the voice of how do you sustain this? How'd you come up with it? What did you do for all of it? Well, he was making me a drink, and he was like, I don't know, Chris, I just do it. It's a fun goof. And it's like all my years of training, and you just do this? Damn, man. All right. I think this looks precious. Kind of going back to what we were talking about with The Last of Us, this is a really great example of adapting from the original material, yes, anding it where you need to, but then staying true to the moments that are iconic or really work on film. I think this looks just so precious. The whole Stitch film too, and franchise, because there's a television series as well where he goes off to find all his cousins because he's Experiment 626, so all those other ones. The entire franchise is so toyetic in nature as well.
Yeah.
There are going to be so many plushes sold of that little alien guy and all the other aliens. They're so cute. They did such a good job making them in the CGI that not only is this going to do well at the box office, this is going to sell so much merchandise.
It's going to bring a lot of people into streaming too, I think.
Absolutely.
After the fact, way down the road.
100%. This is going to have, I think, as long as the movie's good, so much rewatchability for families or for millennials who loved this film or just people who like a charming time in the theaters. This kid is so freaking adorable.
Oh, so precious.
I will burn the world for her. I would take a bullet for Lilo. All right.
When Doom spaghettifies her, man.
Oh,
Hey,
I'm
when
gonna
Dr.
throw
Doom
every
kills her,
table.
man.
I'm gonna throw every table and be so cross.
People will boycott every Robert Downey Jr. movie.
Man, yeah. I think this looks great.
By the way, people in the live chat have reminded me that Avatar 3 comes out this year. I'm still saying Lilo and Stitch will be the #1 box office film of the year. I'm still saying it.
Wow,
Again, if the movie ends up being a terrible movie, obviously that changes. But I'm like, right now, I'm going to say Lilo and Stitch is going to be the
Still
biggest
be a huge year for Disney.
It's going to be a Fantastic Four, Lilo and Stitch, Avatar. They're going to be there are going to be some big Christmas bonus checks being signed to Disney this year.
Disneyland's going to be full of new costumes, man.
Oh, so much. Anyway, Rob, you had a chance to watch the Lilo and Stitch trailer. What do you think about it?
Well, like you, I mean, I had the response. I said to you, this is going to make $1 billion. I mean, again, look, first of all, I think this film, the premise and what this is about lends itself. It's an easier adaptation. You just have to keep, like Chris said, the elements intact because look, you don't necessarily the vagaries of storytelling when it comes to Beauty and the Beast are different than this. This is much more of I think an easier nut to crack because the original film, it's like, don't stray too far. But like you said, what they nailed here was that little girl. Might have been the most important casting Disney's ever done in a live action adaptation because they can't go with a name. They're breaking a new actress that's probably going to have a long career ahead of her. She's so perfect. Like I was a little older, so I like Lilo and Stitch, but I didn't watch it over and over again. But I do like the movie. Look, it's got an alien in it. And there's space, so I have to like it. But that casting, you can see it in the trailer. You're just like I just want to hang out with the two of them. You know, and that was the tough nut to crack. And you cannot watch this trailer and not have it end without. I mean, look, my old, shriveled, dark heart was made full by this trailer in 2 minutes. If it can work on me like that, it can work on anybody.
You know what the real magic sauce of this trailer is? Here's the real magic sauce, is that I think it accomplished two different things. Number one, this is going to get all those parents who were kids when this movie came out originally, all that nostalgia, all that warmth, and they're going to want to share it with their families, and they're going to want to rush, whether they have kids or not, they're going to want to rush out and see this. But the magic sauce is, unlike what a lot of other nostalgia properties fail to do, is they sometimes succeed in appealing to the nostalgia, but will it just to appeal to anybody? This is a trailer that if somebody had never even heard of Lilo and Stitch,
Yes.
I think this is a trailer that would just instantly win them over too.
Yeah.
Now,
100%.
obviously, look, I might be being a little bit facetious when I say it's going to beat Avatar. Avatar has the potential to be a $3 billion film. I don't think Lilo and Stitch would do that. But my enthusiasm for this film, this trailer has somebody wrote in the live chat, we are physically seeing John being won over. It did. This trailer completely won me over. And guys, if you don't buy into what Rob said, that this is, I think, automatically a $1 billion film.
Yeah.
I think this has the potential to be a $2 billion film if it's good.
Well, I mean, everything about it, it's easy to understand. It's appealing. It's funny. It's warm. And I'll tell you something else. I think a lot of people, Hawaiian tourism is going to go way, way, way up after this movie comes out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, guys, question is for you. Did you have a chance to see the trailer for Lilo and Stitch? If not, I don't care what you're doing. You could be delivering a child right now. Stop. Go and watch the trailer for Lilo and Stitch. The kid will wait.
This kid's cuter.
You're like, kid could be as cute as this kid. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that all down, it's time for us to finally, running a little bit long today, time for us to move over to take your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take a quick moment and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Kikoff. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Kickoff. Man, time flies, doesn't it? 1 minute you're reminiscing about your last vacation, and the next you're thinking about major life goals like buying a car, getting that dream home. But if your credit isn't where it needs to be, those goals can feel out of reach. And that's where Kickoff comes in, the #1 credit building app in the App Store that makes it easy, affordable, and stress-free to build credit fast. And that's exactly why I love Kickoff. They give you a credit line for just building credit, not for spending. Your on-time payments get reported to the 3 major credit bureaus, helping you improve your credit mix and payment history, 2 of the biggest factors in credit growth. If your credit is under 600, you could see a jump of about 28 points in your first month. No credit check, no hidden fees, no interest, just smart credit building. Building credit can happen faster than you expect with Kickoff. Don't wait. Get your first month for just $1 at getkickoff.com/Campea. That's kickoff without the C. Get 80% off at getkickoff.com/Campea. Must sign up via getkickoff.com/Campea to activate offer. Offer applies to new customers first month only, subject to approval. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions may apply. Point stat based on Equifax Vantage Score 3.0 changes for Kickoff users starting under 600 who made their first on-time payment between January of 2021 and March of 2024. Payment and credit activity outside Kickoff can have an impact on your credit. Individual results may vary. And thank you to our friends at Kickoff for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with all that down, let's get over to the important stuff, shall we? Your comments, questions, and topics. Ray Ora has now joined us in here.
Hold on. Daredevil, baby. What an episode.
Oh, yeah, you just finished watching the new episode. Wasn't that good? I think it's the best episode so far. Anyway, all right, Jonathan, what we got up first?
Okay. Dr. Stinky says, I watched Deadpool and Wolverine 8 months after it came out, and it keeps getting better each time I watch it. Sean Levy is one of my biggest inspirations as an aspiring filmmaker. A bit of Spielberg magic, but his own unique flavor, with films like Adam Project and Free Guy.
And don't forget, he's one of the main creative forces behind Stranger Things.
And Real Steel, right?
Yeah, and he did Real Steel, which
Talk about a movie with heart.
Is absolutely one of my favorite films of his, Real Steel, where he first worked with Hugh Jackman. Actually, Ray and you and I talked with Hugh Jackman and Sean Levy when
And
Real
Sugar
Steel
Ray
came.
Leonard.
That's right.
My favorite interview.
Sugar Ray Leonard.
My favorite interview that we ever did.
Yeah, I think he's great. He's fantastic. And apparently he's doing a Star Wars movie. Yeah, we'll see if that actually happens. But if he does, it would be great. All right, what's next?
Bradley says, hey, Campea crew, finally saw Wolfman. Gotta say, it wasn't what I expected, but I did laugh a lot. I had questions, but once I decided to just go with it, I had a blast. I would definitely recommend it for anybody with young kids. Maybe he means I wouldn't, so I don't know.
Here's the thing. I didn't mind Wolfman. But I mean, I'll tell you though, the preview they showed to us at CinemaCon last year looked legitimately terrifying. And I didn't find it legitimately terrifying. Don't get me wrong. I don't think Wolfman was a bad movie. Not at all. Not at all. But I was kind of hoping for better. I was hoping for better. All right, what's next?
Thomas says, hey, Campea crew, finally saw Dogman. Holy moly, that took me by surprise. I didn't hear anybody mention the body horror eerie vibe. I would not recommend bringing your young kids to this one. The Captain Underpants connection is non-existent. Yikes.
Oh, he didn't like it.
Is there supposed to be a connection to Captain Underpants?
I don't know. Just
Yeah,
the
I
art
believe
form,
so.
maybe? I don't know.
I think so.
I mean, I've never did see Dogman.
Yeah.
But you liked it, Ray. You
Yeah, I really
and we
liked
heard
it.
from some other people writing and say they liked it.
That makes sense if he's connected to Captain Underpants then. Because the animation looks exactly like
Same
it's in the
studio,
same-
I guess.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Brian says, Jenna Ortega and Ezra Miller were criticized when it was said that they were rewriting for Wednesday The Flash. Yeah, but they're the ones who said it. John Bernthal is praised even though he has no writing credits. Like the others, John has no experience, so what's the difference?
No, Brian, you're completely misunderstanding the situation. I don't have any problem with somebody coming up and deciding to write something. That's great. My problem with Ezra Miller, the Ezra Miller situation, was they had directors who were in charge of the movie and writers of the movie. And Ezra Miller decided to do a little sneaky behind the back over their heads and went right to the studio and said, I want to do my idea.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Them saying, hey, we're gonna do this project and we've appointed this person to take a shot at writing it. I have no problem. I would have had zero problem with it if when they first announced Flash, they said, and we're gonna let Ezra Miller, who's playing the character, take a shot at writing it. I mean, I would have had some concerns about that, but hey, nothing wrong with that. It was the whole situation of Ezra Miller going, I don't like where the director's going with it. There's a chain of command, doofus. But hey, I don't like that. I'm going to go straight to the studio myself and try to throw out what they're doing with it and take my idea. That's a completely different situation. The problem wasn't that Ezra writing, it was Ezra sneaking around behind and trying to go over the heads of the writers and directors because they wanted to do something different.
Right.
Fuck that. So no, so again, you're missing the point on what the problem was. The problem wasn't Ezra writing. The problem was what happened. That was the problem. So I got no problem with John Bernthal taking a shot at
it. And I believe it's reported that Bernthal is helping to write.
No, they came straight up and said John Bernthal is going to be the co-writer.
Because he's saying
with
he's
another
not,
writer
but he is
writing it. Yeah, 100%. All right, what's next?
Seabass. I'm tired of it, John. Why are people being hateful towards James Bond coming to Amazon? Another relic Cold War character Amazon has done great with is Jack Ryan. Plus the Michael B. Jordan spin-off film was awesome. I'm excited to see Bond come to Amazon. What was the Michael B. Jordan spin-off?
It was that Jack Ryan spin-off. He played that character. You know, I'll be honest with you. I didn't like that one too awful much myself. And I love Michael B. Jordan, but I didn't love. It's his Rainbow Six kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Whatever the character
Tom
was.
Clancy.
Oh,
Tom Clancy's, crap.
Yeah, it was a spin-off of the Jack Ryan thing. Anyway,
Yeah.
I forget the character's name that he plays. I didn't particularly love it myself, but again, like somebody brought up, oh no, James Bond's going to Amazon. Well, I guess R.I.P. James Bond. I'm like, based on what? This huge list of success that they've had with show after show after show after property after property after property,
Without remorse.
Was that the name?
Without remorse. Yeah.
I just simply don't see where the basis is to say, oh my God, James Bond is going to Amazon. Well, I guess it's dead now. Number one, as if every James Bond film has been great. And as if Amazon has some long track record of churning out bad shows. Like what? Reacher? That's pretty damn good. Like what? Jack Ryan? That's pretty damn good. Like Fallout? That's pretty damn good. Like The Boys? That's pretty damn good. Like Marvelous Mrs. Maisel? That won all the Emmys. Like, I just don't get what their basis is for just assuming James Bond is now going to be terrible. Could it be terrible? 100% it could. Absolutely. It could go badly. Yes, it absolutely could. But I just don't see the logic in assuming that, oh my God, this is going to fail now because it's at Amazon. Like what? All the other tremendous successes they've had? Anyway, that's just my thought on it. All right, what's next?
All right. I had kind of missed this one yesterday, but Aaron reminded me and put it here. So he had written yesterday, the other question is about whether or not could you buy a ticket and get a digital copy kind of bundle, but would that be an idea to boost box office incentives for movies and prevent piracy? They
had introduced, I remember back when I was still at AMC, the idea was being floated about movie promotions of, if you buy a ticket to a movie, you'll get a code that will also give you a digital download of that movie. Now, that's a tricky one because that's also meant, like a digital copy of the movie later is meant to be additional revenue. But maybe the idea of, hey, if you buy a ticket to see a movie and you got proof that you've saw the movie and you have that ticket purchase, then you can buy a digital copy of it when it becomes available for $5 or something like that. I love that idea. It's still additional revenue being generated. It creates more of a cohesion between the flow of cinema first, digital later. I like the idea of doing that. I hope they find a way to implement it. Mm-hmm. All right.
And then the other one of his I missed yesterday was over under 50% chance a Muse song is played during a Muse scene in Daredevil Born Again.
Under.
I say under.
I'm going to go under on that. It's a clever idea. You know what? Another show maybe would have done that, but something that's a little bit more serious in tone. I don't think they'd do something as gimmicky as that.
Yeah. I do want to see Muse in the new Highlander movie, though. I want to see their music. I want to hear their music in it. Let's see. We got Robot Man. Episode 3 of Daredevil Born Again was amazing. Matt Murdock is a great lawyer, but his opponent is no slouch. Matt gave a good argument, and Hawk did too. Both men showed tenacity and will in the courtroom Tuesday. Episode 3 gave Law and Order vibes.
Again, I was talking on, of course, I did my Daredevil post-game show last night. And I love that they finally succeeded where they failed with She-Hulk. They gave great, gripping courtroom drama, which is what you need to do. You need to have that as an element in Daredevil with Charlie Cox and Matt Murdock being like supposedly a great lawyer, right? It was excellent. Whereas She-Hulk tried and failed to be Ally McBeal in the MCU, which is a great idea. That should have been gold, but they failed. They made Law and Order in the MCU and they succeeded. They knocked it out of the park. I loved the episode last night. I mean, I liked the first 2 episodes, but last night was them setting the bar of excellence. And if that's what we're going to get for the rest of this year, I'm more than thrilled with it. All right, what's next?
Got Oscar. John, I heard some interviews with anonymous Oscar voters that they confirmed that they had not seen Dune Part 2. What do you think about it?
I
covered that.
I don't buy that. And here's the thing, like these stories are stupid because listen, guys, there are 10,000 voting members of the Academy. The sheer numbers insulate the integrity of the voting process. If 5 or 6 people didn't see one movie, it's irrelevant.
Right.
It's not going to move the needle because there are 10,000 voting members.
And who's to say they were going to vote for Dune 2 even if they saw it?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's irrelevant. It really is. It's completely irrelevant. Like nobody's coming out and saying 2,000 members of the Academy. No. It's always this little thing of like, oh, this one Academy person said they didn't vote for this because of something stupid. Well, who cares? That's why you have 10,000 voting members, because when you have that number of those sheer numbers of voters, it insulates the integrity of it because little variables like that, these little oddities are completely washed out. So it doesn't matter. It's complete. And listen, by the way, when you have 10,000 members, I would be shocked if I found out that there wasn't one single one that didn't see that movie. It's a ridiculous thing. It's a statistical anomaly. It doesn't really matter. All right, what's next?
Sino says, just finished Paradise. All I could think was that was like the Fallout prequel. That hit me a little bit like that. The real disaster, though, was that the only video game system they brought down was a Wii. So many better consoles they could have saved.
Well, that's what the president wanted, though.
Yeah.
The president wanted the Wii. Man, I loved Paradise. I really, really did. I absolutely loved Paradise. I think it's just a great show. Again, I don't put it in the upper echelon of shows like Shogun or Last of Us or things like that, but it's really good. I think it's on that next rung just under that.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Okay, we got a 3-parter and then a 1-parter. Both are in the realm of Daredevil spoilery. So if you want
Okay, just warning to everybody, the next question, it contains a spoiler of Daredevil from last night. All right.
You've been warned. Mark Choi with a 3-parter. Hi, everyone. John, for Daredevil, I agree with you. The dialogue-heavy scenes are deliciously dramatic and elevate the series, but beyond talking, it's all the non-action moments, the pacing, lingering shots that make it powerful. With 50-plus minute runtime for all episodes of season 1 through 3, the show lets moments breathe, creating impact. Born Again felt rushed, episode 3 specifically. Only 40 minutes, adding 5 or more minutes could have been better fleshed out. The aftermath of White Tiger after the verdict, maybe showing him being accepted by his wife or whatever. You raised this point during the after show. So question, do you know what dictates the runtime of streaming series? Is it because that's all they could think of in the writing room, or are there other restrictions?
Well, I mean, first I got to say that I personally completely disagree with your premise that somehow, some way, Born Again feels rushed. It doesn't feel rushed to me at all. Like, not at all. They were given the freedom to like make each episode as long as it needs to be. And I think they did it with great impact. And the proof of that for me is that when the end credits started to roll and they played the sound of the Puerto Rican song of those frogs, it broke me emotionally. If they had been rushing through it, I wouldn't have felt that, but they made me feel it. So yeah, I don't know, right?
Spoiler. Do we really think he's dead?
Yes.
That's probably a copycat.
You saw him getting ready, putting his thing on, and
yeah, okay, never mind. I was thinking, why wouldn't he listen to
Matt?
But then he doesn't know he's
But remember, Matt said,
Like,
when
don't-
Matt
don't
said
go-
you got to stop being it, he said that's like asking me to stop breathing. This is who I am, right? So yeah, I do think he's dead.
All right.
All right, what's next?
Last one in the spoiler territory, but it's a $20 tip also from Mark.
Oh, thank you, Mark.
One more thing, he says, I'm surprised, John, you still think that there's a chance Frank killed White Tiger. Frank trusts Murdoch and knows he wouldn't lie to the jury about Hector's character, so he wouldn't have misled and killed him. I vote misdirect.
I think the misdirect is making you think it wasn't him. I think if there's a misdirect, because like honestly, the show made it obvious it wasn't Frank, right? If you just watch the show, it's obvious that's not Frank. That could be the misdirect.
Right. It's not that, yeah, exactly.
Right? It's only a misdirect if you think there's nobody who thought that was actually Frank, the way they set it up by not showing his face and everything. And if there's a misdirect, that's the misdirect.
Yeah.
Now, like I said on the show last night, do I think Frank is the one that killed him? No, but you're also making an assumption that Frank follows the news and Frank is following this story in the paper and reading about this. Listen, the only reason I think there's even a chance, because again, if you ask me, do I think it was Frank that killed him or somebody else? I think it was somebody else. But I also believe there's a chance it may have been Frank, because we've seen this story trope used in other comic book stuff too, where somebody deceives Frank. Somebody tricks Frank. Somebody creates false evidence or whatever to make Frank believe that, oh, there's this White Tiger dude and he's a cop killer and it's got to be taken care of. He doesn't know that Matt was defending him in Thing or anything like that. Because remember, when we first meet Punisher in Daredevil, he's beating the shit out of Daredevil. And just thinking about killing him. So again, don't misinterpret me. Do I think that was Frank? No. But I'm just saying, don't discount out of entirety. If you don't watch like comic book stuff, they have used this trope before where that could have been a misdirect to make us think it wasn't Frank, and there could be a secondary story that would piss Frank off even more. Because think about this. Think about this. If you think Frank's going to be mad just because there are some dirty cops using his symbol, and that will make Frank very mad, how pissed off do you think Frank is going to be if he found out he got tricked into killing a good man? What kind of murderous rampage is Frank going to go on if he finds out that he got deceived into killing a good man? It'll be biblical. It will be fire and brimstone, biblical violence that Frank will unleash. Yeah, he'll be mad that dirty cops are using his symbol. He'll be mad about that. But can you imagine the John Wick level rage he would feel? Now, during the post-game show last night, one of my viewers gave me an excellent logical reason why we should not believe that that was actually Frank doing the shooting. He said this: because whoever the shooter was tricked White Tiger into going down that alley by having a woman in distress voice. Frank would only use that as a lure if he thinks that White Tiger is a good man and would want to run to help a woman in distress.
Right. It's like, oh, you tried to help this innocent person, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah. That to me was the best argument against the idea that that was Frank. Was that because that would mean that Frank assumes White Tiger is a good man and would want to come and help rescue a woman.
That'll show
well, if
him.
Frank thinks he's a good man and would want to rescue a woman, he wouldn't be shooting him.
Well, one thing I got out of it is if you're going to be fighting crime at night, why wear all white? That's so...
Because he's the White
I'm
Tiger,
here.
man.
And also, I
Because he
think...
wants you to see he wants you to see him coming.
Yeah. He's not Black Panther. he's
But
White
also,
Tiger.
the Punisher, the person with the Punisher shirt was Karen Page.
There you go.
Was Karen? That's it.
You heard it
Karen
here
turned
first.
bad.
That was her
Karen
voice.
turned bad. The death of Foggy turned her bad.
She had to go to San Francisco, right?
No, I'm not killing these people. I'm insane. That's right. It's Karen. 100% confirmed. Karen's the one
Logic
who killed
right there.
White Tiger.
That's why it ended with that "If You're Going to San Francisco" song.
Yeah.
It's
Are
all
you
like-
going to San Francisco?
Scream like a woman in the alley and trick a good guy and kill him. I think that's how the song goes.
All right, what's
Baldur's
next?
Grape says, no spoilers. I love the subplot in Born Again about the Punisher logo and its use. I wonder if this will play in the future special. I know Marvel has flirted with changing his logo due to use by certain groups. Maybe this is them trying to reclaim it.
Oh, no. This is them doing the art imitating life.
Yes.
So one of the things I said in the post-game show last night, I don't believe for a second that the Punisher special is going to be a one-shot
Yeah.
thing. It's not going to be connected to Daredevil. I mean, it is connected because this is the character in the universe. But, somebody was saying in the show last night, oh, I think this is going to happen in Daredevil to set up. No, there's not going to be any setup. I think if anything, it's going to be more like Dirty Laundry.
Yeah.
It's going to be a self-contained, one-shot quick story. And it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be brutal.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be like a hanging thread storyline from Daredevil, I don't think.
Don't
Like
need it.
Warzone, baby. The
Well, that was a
best.
full movie.
I love that movie.
Yeah,
You know-
Warzone is my favorite Daredevil movie.
You know what they could do?
Punisher.
They could
Punisher
bring,
movie, I mean.
because at the end of Punisher on Netflix, don't we see Jigsaw? They could it could be him and Jigsaw in the special presentation.
I can't remember. It's been so many years. Anyway. All right. I think they would save that for a full thing, not just a quick special, though.
That could be, yeah.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
Robot Man. Kingpin and Vanessa's relationship was one of my favorite things of the original show. I love the way the writers have written their storyline. Vanessa is challenging him, and she doesn't seem to like she's love struck by him anymore. Man, it feels so real.
Well, because she found her own way. Right. And she got kind of addicted to it. So listen, one of the best things about this series to me is the relationship between Wilson and Vanessa. And it's going to be really neat to see how that plays out. All right. What's next?
Tucci Gang.
Tucci Gang.
I love John Lithgow and think he'll make a great Dumbledore. My only concern is he's already 79 years old. With Harry Potter series likely to span the better part of a decade, could this possibly be another situation where Dumbledore is recast?
Look, guys, I mean, the reality, we were just talking about how the guy who played White Tiger passed away. The reality is life is precious and is short. And any actor you cast at any age can suddenly not be there anymore. That's just the reality of it. There are a lot of actors who are still alive and kicking it in their 90s and whatever. Jonathan Lithgow can absolutely be one of those. And could the situation pop up where they might have to recast it? Maybe, but unfortunately, that's going to be true of the child actors too. I'm not trying to be morbid. I'm just saying, how many times, a lot of the times that we've seen had to recast because of somebody passing away, a lot of times it's not because they were really old. We're looking for new T'Challa because of the passing of Chadwick Boseman. I mean, Heath Ledger died before he won his Oscar. So, yeah, of course the chance exists, but it also exists for every character that they cast, unfortunately. All right, what's next?
We got Nico who says, regarding streaming mindset, popular shows that are canceled after 1 or 2 seasons, if not bringing in new subscribers, it's very short-sighted because it could combat churn, the thorn in streaming's side. A penny saved is a penny earned. Just my 2 cents.
But it doesn't earn them. It doesn't earn the studio any money. And here's the thing: it doesn't curb churn, because what churners are going to do is, with the common kind of thing right now with streaming shows is that they only happen every 2 years, like one season every 2 years, instead of the normal television model of one season every year.
They just wait for the next season.
They're just going to cancel and then resubscribe in 2 years. It wouldn't curb churn at all, not in the least. So you are more likely, the streamers know this, and it sucks, but it's a truth. The streamers know you are more likely to bring back those churners if you have something fresh and new they might get excited about. Not that now we're going to show them a show, and Netflix drops all their episodes at once, by the way, which is still stupid of them. They need to go to a model where they release it weekly. But we're going to drop a show on one day that somebody can literally binge in 2 days, and their next season isn't for 2 years. That's not going to curb churn. That's not going to stop. If anything, that's the definition of churn. I'm going to cancel it now, and then I'll come back in 2 years for 1 month when the next season drops. It doesn't really help combat churn at all. So it really, from a cost perspective, it doesn't justify it, unfortunately. It's a sucky thing. It totally sucks, but that's the way it is. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got CJ from New York with a $20 tip.
Thank you, CJ.
Says, I've been working the graveyard shift recently, and in my random thoughts to get me through the night, I'm wondering if Silo is set in the East and Paradise is set in the West. Could it be part of the same apocalyptic universe?
No.
Different timelines.
Different
Different
The events take
causes,
place
different
in
cataclysms.
And I don't want to give
Yeah.
anything away, but what's going on outside are completely different things.
Yeah. So, I mean, hey, it's always fun, right? As fans, to imagine what if this universe is connected somehow to this. We do it all the time, right? We do it all. We just today, we were talking about how take Atomic Blonde, Nobody, and John Wick and put them all in the same movie and boom, right? Fun thing to do, but it doesn't actually line up, unfortunately. So no, I don't think there's any chance. And by the way, thank you for writing in though. And thank you for supporting us on that level, man. Appreciate that.
They're all connected to La Brea.
It's all oh my
That's
God.
what started everything.
Yeah.
Is that show still on?
I don't know. I just
I don't
remember
think
going
so.
through. Like
I haven't
a couple-
heard any of it. I can't remember hearing it mentioned in years. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Okay,
Connected
Nico.
with Brad.
Oh no, we read that one. Sorry, I was just repeated. Dexter, hey John, when you did the segment about most likely $1 billion films this year, which was a great video by the way, I agreed with you on all of them apart from number one, the little blue one. I actually put Lilo and Stitch above Michael in second place, and then this is repeated. Sometimes it repeats them. Here we go. I can't speak for North America, but here in the UK, every shop of every kind has a dedicated section for Stitch merch, and the kids go crazy for it. Also, at Disneyland Paris, Stitch is the most popular character by an absolute mile with a 2-hour wait. Crazy. To meet him every day. This is just for the character. There's not like a Lilo and Stitch ride. Okay. I could be wrong, but I'm saying if it's good, this movie is a lock to make $1 billion.
You know, it's funny because Ann and I showed the trailer to Ann this morning, and Ann recently did a trip to Paris, and she was like, Lilo and Stitch is everywhere in Paris.
Wow, that's crazy.
Everywhere in Paris. And then I've heard from other people in the UK saying it's everywhere in the UK right now. Everywhere. This movie is going to make all the monies. It's going to make, and I didn't know if I totally bought, I knew it would make a lot of money because it's Lilo and Stitch, but I did not know that I bought into the idea that it would make all the monies until I saw that trailer. Once I saw that trailer, it won me over. I am officially converted. I am totally on the Lilo and Stitch train now. This movie is going to be absolutely monstrous. All right, what's next?
All right. Arun says, yesterday, a state in India has put a price cap to all movie tickets. Maximum price the theater can charge are 200 rupees, $2.30 in that state. The same state is where the court ruled the theater to advertise the movie start time. Couldn't work here, though.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if it's a possibility that a lot of films in India are state funded by like taxes. And in that case, like, let's say most of the film industry is funded by, it's subsidized, right? Then I could kind of see it's unfair for a theater company to be making tons of money off of films that are already paid for by taxes. But that's not done here.
Yeah, no, but Indian cinema in India, they play a lot of Western films and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
What I do want them to do is to institute laws that say if you tell people the movie starts at 7, you damn well better start your movie at 7.
Yeah.
Or advertise exactly how long the commercials are you're going to play.
Right.
I like that they've passing those rules and those laws in India. I love that. You cannot pass a price limit. It's still a free marketplace. You can charge whatever you want. And listen, if movie theaters want to charge themselves out of business, let them.
Yeah,
Somebody else will come along and charge more reasonable
Exactly.
prices and win. You got to still have that. So no, I do not think they should be able to put a price cap on it here, but I do love the idea of saying, hey, it's just a consumer protection law. A consumer protection law that says you are advertising a movie at this o'clock. You do not then get to steal a half hour of that patron's time that they did not sign up for by showing a half hour of commercials starting at the time you told them the movie was starting at. That should be a law here. We pass consumer protection laws in this country. You should absolutely have it for movie consumers as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, what's next?
All right. We got same topic with the Daredevil thing. So you guys are warned here. Plug your ears. Dildar says, after the recent episode of Daredevil, I'm going to savor every second of Matt laying a beating on the fake Punisher. All he want to do was help people, justice for Hector. So he feels he's a fake Punisher.
Yeah,
too.
I don't think he's the one who's going to be laying the beating on him.
Yeah, it's Punisher.
It's going to be Punisher, and it ain't going to end well. It ain't.
You know, we saw in the trailer just Punisher just going nutso with that axe and everything.
It looked like he was in the
What if
locker
he was
room.
in just like a rage, and that's why Daredevil had to be like, dude, stop.
Yeah, we've seen lots of set photos of him on the streets with
Yeah.
Daredevil
That-
covered in blood.
That particular one, he looked like he jammed him up against a locker room.
Yeah.
Like maybe
Well, that was a different
police
scene
department.
entirely. That was
Yeah.
inside in a locker room where he's just talking to Matt that he clearly hasn't seen or thought about in a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right, what's next?
We got Mighty Infinity AI. I saw the Lilo and Stitch trailer and was like, I'm in. It looked great. It looked great and so charming and so funny. I was looking forward to the movie, but this trailer made me even more excited and made it a movie that I have to see. Can't wait.
Again,
That's marketing for you.
It did that magical thing where even if Lilo and Stitch, the original movie, didn't exist, this trailer looks like $1 billion film. Like even if the original didn't exist. And at the same time, it totally clicked all the nostalgia strings at the same time. So it totally appealed to nostalgia, but it totally looked like its own original thing that's going to win over new fans. Not a lot of nostalgia IPs can do that. This did it, and I am completely on board for it.
You know what's crazy about it? And not just because they're both blue, but just the filmmaking style, the cinematography. It reminded me a lot of the Sonic franchise. But for whatever reason, this is just going to do 3 times what Sonic did.
All right, what's next?
Okay. Excuse me. Mighty Infinity follows up. Lilo and Stitch definitely has a chance to make $1 billion now after this trailer, assuming it's good. I remember the touching scene in Show where he gets handcuffed and he gives that family speech, says goodbye. Also, the he's touching me fight scene.
I think you're talking about the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the show.
Yeah.
I never did watch the Lilo and Stitch TV stuff. I never did see any of that. But again, this totally won me over, man. I had my doubts, but this has won me over. This is just an absolute bonkers terrific trailer. All right, what's next?
All right, we got Connell, the 2-parter. Hey, Mr. Campea, I've been watching your show for over a year now. Your show has helped me get through some tough spots in my life, like the stress of standing up for myself and my brothers against my abusive dad.
Jeez.
So sorry to hear that, man, that you're in that situation. Connell continues, sorry for the long message. No need to apologize. Thanks for giving us all the opportunity to say world be gone. My question is for you. Do you think, considering all of the story that they will have to cover the Avengers Secret Wars, that they will split Secret Wars?
No. I mean, listen, we don't know what they have to cover. Remember, when comic book movies get named after popular comic book storylines, they never follow them. They're always based on, but then they make their own thing. The Age of Ultron was not the Age of Ultron story from the comic books. Civil War was not identical to the Civil War story in the comic books. They are making their own film. If they needed Secret Wars to be 2 different movies, they would have made 3 upcoming Avenger films, not 2. They know the story they're telling, they know what they're going to do, and it's going to fit into those 2 films. So, no, I don't think there's any chance they're going to split Secret Wars into 2 different movies. And again, do not expect a direct beat for beat retelling of the Secret Wars from the comic books, because they never do that. They literally have never done that other than with Sin City. Sin City is really the only beat for beat comic book following thing. It really hasn't been done otherwise. All right, what's next?
Aaron says Lilo and Stitch was the first movie my parents took me to in theaters. I was 2 years old. My dad is not a big movie theater going guy. I couldn't even get him to see Top Gun Maverick, his new favorite. But he is so excited to go see this remake.
Just kind of a reminder, what year did the original?
I'll look it up.
Yeah, what year? Because how old would somebody who saw it when they were, what did he say, 2?
2002.
Oh,
So 2002?
Yeah.
So he's 23. So he's
So it's 23 years later. So now he's
yeah.
25 years old.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You know
He's
what?
born in 2000.
I'm kind of surprised that it came out in 2002. I would have thought 1990 something. All right, what's next?
All right. We got Kaylee, Last of Us season 2 trailer is so good. Not a gamer, but I'm so excited. Bella's delivery of "You Swore" broke me a bit. You felt all of Ellie's pain, anger, and confusion in those 2 words. Just give Bella, Pedro, and company their Emmys now.
Let's not
Gotta
get
see
ahead
it
of
first.
ourselves. I mean, listen, Last of Us got a lot of Emmy attention.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Last of Us 2 as well will as well. I mean, it's been a while since I've been this excited for a follow-up season of something. Last of Us was just so good. The story of Last of Us 2, the game, is even better than the story of Last of Us 1. So how they're going to pull this off, man, I'm just so excited for
What's
it.
impressive is that they're obviously doing some of the flashback scenes of the second game, where when they go to the museum and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So they're taking great detail.
Remember, they're saying in the show there's a 5-year gap, right? So there's going to be a lot of distance to cover.
Yep. And there's
All right.
a lot of characters in this thing.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Ollie Mabel says, like how the Netflix shows explored the street level side of MCU, I wish Disney Plus shows had just focused on the dark fantasy side of the MCU, Moon Knight, Blade. That way the shows could have existed in their own bubble like the Netflix shows did.
But that's not their philosophy. Their philosophy is like, I think the way Marvel should have done it, in my personal opinion, was kind of the way DC used to do it, where they had their movies and then they had their CW universe and they were not connected. I think that's what Marvel should have done with Disney Plus and the MCU, just like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was not actually connected to the MCU. They tried to pretend they were, but Kevin Feige made it pretty clear they weren't. But their philosophy is that the MCU is the MCU, whether it's on the screen, the big screen, or the small screen. And so, yeah, you couldn't do. Look, the problem with the MCU on Disney Plus is not that they're not doing enough dark fantasy or they're doing too much of it. It's that they're not making good shows consistently. You could do more dark fantasy stuff, but then you're just going to have a lot of bad dark fantasy. So, and they would all be considered part of the MCU because that is their philosophy. Again, I don't think that's what they should have done, but it's what they decided to do and you can't change it now. So yeah, it is what it is. All right, what's next?
Okay, little Daredevil spoilery here again. So here's your warning. Curious Chris says the transition from Fisk's bloody knuckles to Matt's in episode 3 was brilliant. Beautiful way to show their darker sides slowly manifesting. I was mixed on episode 1 and 2, but episode 3 was fantastic. More courtroom drama, please. Matt is a great lawyer. I think in episode 2 you saw some of that twist when he pulled back that sandwich wrapper.
Well, yeah, see, one of the things that they're doing that I think is really interesting is that they are showing a parallel path for Matt and Fisk. They had that conversation and everything has kind of been parallel since then. That we hate having the violent nature, right?
You do that better than me.
Then, we see both of them trying to be one thing, but then circumstances happen, whether it's a police cop giving you a hard time and berating you, or dirty cops attacking you in an apartment, and we see that they can't escape it. Neither Matt or Fisk can escape it. Now, they're on different sides, but they both, I mean, Matt uses his violent nature to help people. Wilson just uses it to control people, but we see that they are on parallel paths. And I love that one imagery when you see Fisk washing the knuckles and Matt watching the knuckles. I love that they're on these parallel paths that are eventually going to lead to intersecting with each other. And we're going to have a big explosion. So that's going to be fun. All right, what's next?
All right. Anonymous, some of the Spider-Man 4 title pitches I've heard. Spider-Man Home Wrecked. Spider-Man Home Sweet Home. I quite like that one. Spider-Man Home Alone. Could they even use that? But I think the most likely Spider-Man Brand New Day, breaking the trend. I like Brand New Day. It's kind of nice, but I don't know.
I'll be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of name of movie, additional name of movie. I like name of movie 1, name of movie 2. I like Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, Iron Man. I like that naming convention better. I get what you do with Avengers because Avengers isn't its own series proper, right? So I'm fine not calling it Avengers 2, Avengers 3, Avengers 4 because they're kind of special circumstances. But I would just prefer Spider-Man 4. They're not going to do that.
Spider-Man Born Again.
But I do think they are going to break the home titling.
Yeah.
Oh, so
My
Spider-Man.
guess-
I think that home was for the trilogy.
So it's gonna be Spider-Man New Condo.
Spider-Man Condo.
Yeah, exactly.
Spider-Man versus the HOA.
Rent is how much?
All right, what's next?
Spider-Man Eviction.
Oh my Josh says, hey John and crew, I recently moved to Las Vegas from San Diego. That's a big change. Is Ann interested in seeing Backstreet Boys at the Sphere? My wife and I really want to go. What was the ticket app that you used to try and get cheaper tickets last minute? Oh, one of our sponsors, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I use Game Time a lot. Game Time is one of our sponsors. Before Game Time, I use Vivid Seats a lot. So, and sometimes I'll use both to compare. Game Time always, I'm not gonna say always, but more often than not seems to beat it out. But those are the apps I use. Go to Game Time and use the code Campea. Make sure you go get that. But yeah, and yes, Ann is definitely interested in going to Sphere to seeing Backstreet Boys. I don't know we're going to do it. By the way, we're going to Vegas again this weekend because we're going to go watch AEW. Of course, we have a friend who's in AEW, so we're going to go to Vegas this weekend to go see. They asked us to go and watch their AEW show, so we're going to go out there and do that. All right, what's next?
Let's see. Okay, sorry, there's a bunch of like repeats. It really is bad today. Robert S says, "Hey John, this is our last of the tips. I've got about the VA industry for a little over 6
I have no idea what the VA industry is.
Yeah. For a little over 6 months.
Voice artists.
There's been a very big voice acting strike.
Okay.
Right, nailed it.
Guys, please again, do not use acronyms. Write out what you're trying to say.
Yeah, because there's so many acronyms for everything.
Yeah, all right.
All right. Using huge delays and recasts for video games and animated projects. Have you looked into it at all? And what are your thoughts?
I'll be honest with you, I have not. Now, the best person, obviously, to ask about that, the most qualified person to ask about that is Chris Carr. I have not really followed it that much. I mean, I hear about it. I see some of the headlines, but I have not paid much, just being honest, I haven't paid much attention, not because I don't think it's important. It's just that it doesn't have a direct impact on what we do with our show here. So I'm just not familiar with it. But again, it's a shame Chris isn't here because she's absolutely the right person to ask about that. Now, I thought she mentioned they were starting to get some
leeway.
Did they fix it?
I'm not sure if it's fixed. Maybe they're just opening up,
Making
talks again.
progress
Yeah.
or something. That's what I thought I heard at any rate. Anyway, I hope for any of these sorts of things, I hope it gets settled well for everybody involved. And all right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thanks to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. I want to thank the guys in the room with me, Ray Ora.
See you guys tomorrow.
Jonathan Voiko.
See you later.
The since departed Chris Carr and Robert Meyer Burnett. Don't forget to come on back and join us again tomorrow. It'll be me, Ray, Jonathan, Robert. We'll all be here. Hopefully you guys will be here to join us as well. So that'll do it for us for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. And until next time, my friends. Bye-bye.